advertising. If you look at the Seuss ads, all of their advertising, you notice anything? They have a rule. Anybody who appears in an ad must be under 10 years old. He knows because he wrote this case for us. They must be under 10 years old or over 65. Is that it? Or under 8? Like they said, only young children or seniors can appear in ads. Because, we don't want to encourage 16-year-olds or 23-year-olds to use this. This is for kids or seniors. Does he look like a kid or senior? Do you think a Seuss tech can keep this out of the hands of people if it's useful to him? Right. Maybe he's kind of a low-end user for which this thing is good enough. Is it good enough?
Yes.
That's good enough. Do you think that it may be good enough for more people in this room over time, especially when they have a version that has Windows on it?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so this is what the issue around OLPC and EEPC and EPC and all those things is, right? And you know what? You can now apply theory to predict what's going to happen. That's what this case is really about. Okay. All right. So same chart. Now, remember how I said causality was all about chasing profit? Do you know anybody who works at any company who's not trying to increase profit? Maybe one or two, but not a lot. Right? By and large, I actually don't know of anybody who's running a company who says, I want to make less money next year than okay, so you look at this and what's going on in the value network for all these guys who are assembling this. The PC business and the notebook business, they're growing so fast that it's covering declining margins for a while, right? And that previous chart where I showed where the value migration was going. This is all predictable by theory if you really are thoughtful about it. That's why theory is useful. Okay, so the other thing that is kind of interesting, and this also has to do with chasing profit. And if you look at the history of ASUSTech, and you look at the history of Quanta, and you look at the history of Wistron, and Acer, and all these other guys, there's another way of applying disruption theory. It's like, all these people who started out with making raw circuit boards and then making motherboards and then making desktop systems and making notebook computers, they just go up the value chain. So let's look at it from the perspective of a lead brand like HP. Well, let's look at Dell, okay, and the whole outsourcing model. And you can look at this from two sides. You can look at it from the people who outsource and the people who receive the work. Okay, so I used to work for IBM, and there was a time when they made the whole PC, even though it was quite modular. Well, actually, they did. One of the first things they did on the PC is like, we're going to outsource the raw circuit board. Okay, and people like Dell say, yeah, we'll outsource the raw circuit board. And you know what? That was kind of low margin work. And if I get rid of that low margin work, guess what? My profitability improves. Smart move. Investors like that. Right? And by the way, the recipients are all competing with everybody. It's all standardized work, so it's cutthroat business. Anybody can make raw circuit boards. So I'm going to move up market. Right? So I'll go back to Dell and say, why don't you let me stuff the circuit board for you? Put all the components on it. Right? Get rid of that low margin work. Your finances will work better. Then, I'll make a little higher profit as well until all my other competitors do that too. All right, so then I'll go back to Dell and say, why don't you let me design that circuit board for you? All right, and outsource that. Move up market. My P&L over here improved. These guys' P&L improved. Everything is going with you. Okay, looks pretty good. Next step is, why don't you let me do system assembly? But by the way, on this side, if you watch Quanta's gross margins, I think it was in the exhibit, they started out pretty high. right? Because they were capturing more and more of this stuff, and then they go lower and lower as all the competitors pile up. So these guys look better, these guys feel better. You know, why don't you let me do your outbound logistics? Right? Same story. You know, these guys' margins get better, these guys' numbers get better. Although, you know, the people who are doing this are getting disrupted by another set of players who are saying, why did you let me do that? Right? There's an amazing number of outsourcers who outsource the work themselves, and it just keeps getting outsourced further and further down the chain. Same thing, why do you let me do the design? ODM, original design and design. Let me do your reverse logistics.
Or would you give us some idea what this reverse logistics?
Oh, reverse logistics means not only will I ship it, but reverse logistics also means customer returns. I'll handle it for you. I've jumped a lot of steps here, okay, but the idea is I'm going higher the value. Right? And you look at it, it's like a lot of Taiwan manufacturers start out OEMing pieces, and then say, oh, let me do ODM. And then the latest term, a couple of years now, is OBM, right? You know what OBM is? Own brand manufacturing. Right. So actually, if you're in a SUS tech, who's now an own brand manufacturer, this is a good story. If you're at Dell, how do you feel about this? Right. This is actually a big issue in the industry right now. But you know what? You can use theory to predict all of these things. Okay, Ted Chang in this case, and I'm going to show you a video of Ted in a couple of minutes. You know, he looked at this, and hopefully you got this from the case, and said, you know, actually, notebook computer with integrated software environment, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, you know, how much does the Windows license cost? How much does the Outlook license cost? How much does Microsoft Office cost? It's more than the value of the hardware. What are you guys, crazy? Like most Taiwan manufacturers hate Microsoft. They say, you know, you collect so much money. We pay billions of dollars to Microsoft. We don't get anything. So they said, but you know what? This interface is all very standardized. Okay, and the real thing he learned from this all PC model was this Web 2.0 computing model. Right? One of the most profound examples of modularity was a couple of letters. I think you use it every day. HTTP and URL. What did that do? It said, I can now modularly connect to any computer in the world that's attached to it. Okay, in fact, once I do that, I can move applications around. So this OLPC